Ukrainian President Zelensky has touched down in Washington, D.C. for high-stakes diplomacy. Now, later today, he will sit across the table from Donald Trump, joined by key European leaders in what could be a defining moment for the future of the Ukraine war. But the agenda is already sparking controversy. Trump has made it clear for peace, Zelensky must accept some of Russia's terms, including giving up Crimea and dropping forever Ukraine's ambition to join the NATO. Just last week in Alaska, Trump met Putin and a meeting he hailed as great progress behind closed doors. The Russians offered concessions on so-called land swaps and security guarantees. But Zelensky has warned, guarantees mean nothing if they are as weak as the ones that failed Ukraine before. And here's the twist. Trump's strategy has shifted. He's no longer chasing a ceasefire. He wants a deal. So much so, he's quickly pulled back from his threat of fresh sanctions on Moscow. Now, days before meeting Putin in Alaska, Donald Trump referred to what he called land swaps as a condition for peace. Trump is reportedly planning to press Zelensky to surrender the entirety of the eastern Ukrainian regions of Donetsk and Luhansk in return for Russia freezing the rest of the front line. Russia already controls a fifth of Ukraine, including about 3/4 of Donetsk province, which it first entered in 2014. That's 114,000 square kilometers, including Crimea and big parts of the east and southeast Ukraine. They've got all of Luhansk and large parts of Zaporozhye and Kherson. This all comes after that fiery February 28th face-off when Trump and his vice president, J.D. Vance, went on live TV to berate Zelensky, calling him ungrateful for America's aid and urging him to end the war fast. Now, Zelensky pushed back, saying Putin cannot be trusted and warning Americans that if Moscow is appeased now, you will feel it in the future.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you.
And as the world watches today's showdown, Trump is fanning the flames with a steady stream of Truth Social posts. His latest, Zelensky can end the war almost immediately if he wants to. He once again pointed to NATO expansion and Crimea 2014 annexation, calling them red lines for Russia that, in his words, never change.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning.
And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting?
He didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it.
Eyes are on Washington now, where the question isn't just whether peace is possible, but at what price?
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning.
And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you.
Further, I'm joined by Mr. Surendra Singh Lally, who is a foreign affairs expert. Mr. Lally, thank you for taking your time and joining me here at News9. Good evening, Mr. Lally. What are your expectations from today's meeting? At the very outset, I need to know, what are you expecting after the last time around when we did see Donald Trump, Zelensky, J.D. Vance in the same room before the the media personnel and journalists? We are playing out these visuals right now because it's difficult to forget what exactly panned out, the kind of exchanges that took place, the way he was berated. What is your expectation today, Mr. Lally? What should come out of the meeting today?
Thank you, Samia. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be here. And bade beabru ho ke tere kuche se nikle. Sorry, I mean, I can't hold the smile. The way Zelensky was humiliated, berated, ridiculed. I mean, I think in in the history of politics in civilized world, there could not be a worst manner in which the head of the state could have been treated. I mean, if nothing at all, he was, insulted or not wearing a suit. So it was very shameful for me coming out to be from our democracy to have watched that. Samia, the problem is that the mercurial mercantilist Donald Trump is really in a hurry to get the Nobel Prize. And, I was listening to you. You said that what strategy does Donald Trump have? I don't think he has a strategy. His strategy is to conclude in any which manner so that he can get another feather on his cap by saying that this is the sixth or the seventh war that he's been successfully able to stop. I mean, we know how he's been talking about India over 30 times. He has been pushing the point, irrespective of our very civilized and in a very, diplomatic manner, refuting that thank you, but no thank you. But that gentleman has left nothing unturned in terms of even trying to not deal with India the way it should be dealt with. Now, the problem, Samya, is that Donald Trump is not a politician. We all know that. 6 bankruptcies and 2 convictions. And unfortunately for him, he is dealing with some of the most seasoned politicians in the world. I mean, Xi Jinping, Benjamin Netanyahu, Vladimir Putin, and of course, our own very statesman-like Prime Minister Narendra Damodar Das Modi. So he does not understand the nuances of politics and how in politics you don't have to get transactional to the point where you end up compelling yourself in renegotiating your own very strategy, if there was any that you stood for. I mean, if nothing else, the last, they've had 16 interactions between Zelensky and Donald J. Trump, starting from February 28th to the recent one in Alaska. And if anything, Donald Trump, to me, looked unhappy because the way Zelensky and his team, his foreign ministry, totally dominated the Alaska, fiasco for the United States. If anything, it has again elevated Putin back to the global standard. He was out in the wilderness for a while, but he came home as a winner when Donald Trump had to come back and say, oh, nothing has happened, but something might happen. So not only that, I think, Putin is even smart enough to know what Donald Trump wants to hear. What Donald Trump has been ranting ever since he came to office on the 19th or 20th of January, Putin said, and I quote, that this war would not have started had it not been for the Biden administration, if Donald Trump would have been in power. And that's one. And two, imagine how the Europeans must be feeling about themselves. I mean,
They're talking about what is expected today. It's supposed to be like this, a blockbuster meeting that everybody is looking towards, Mr. Lally. Now, what can we expect? That will Donald Trump now prioritize a ceasefire or a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia? What could be on the anvil on the talking table today?
Samya, there will be a peace agreement, but at what cost? I mean, what cost and what kind of pressure would they putting on Zelensky? I mean, if one of the biggest unfortunate legacies that Donald Trump is leaving thus far, and I hope it does not even come out in this, is that he has given this new logic that force can be used to change borders, which was never the criteria, the way he attacked Iran without getting a congressional approval or from the United Nations. So Donald Trump will get and might want to push Zelensky to the point, but now it depends because there are 7 European leaders sitting in the meeting too, and more than Zelensky and the people of Ukraine who I stand with because the kind of life they're living. But it's the European Union now. I mean, they will have to see that what sort of a deal that comes out of it, because they're directly impacted. And out of all the leaders, I only see the French and the British prime ministers and the head of state who would probably have, the heft to have a conversation with Donald Trump across the table. So the billion-dollar question is that Zelensky will be pushed down. Now, how much down? How much land will he have to give? As it is, they're not going to allow him to become part of the NATO member, which is, they've already said. So that's a very good question. Now, what's going to happen? But whatever's going to happen,
So what
it'll
sort
be
of
more
a
leaning.
territorial concession are you looking at, Mr. Lali? Are we looking at the Luhansk region? Are we looking at the Donetsk region with the statements coming in the comments on Crimea? What are going to be the territorial concession that perhaps Zelensky will have to make if he yields under pressure?
You know, I'm going to quote Zelensky now that he just tweeted when he got to Washington. He says, Putin simply used it as a springboard for a new attack, or when Ukraine was given the so-called security guarantees in 1994, but they didn't work. Of course, Crimea should have been given up then, just as Ukrainians did not give up Kyiv, Odessa, Kharkiv after 2022. So now they will push him. They will definitely push him to negotiate, and he will have to accede to some land, because you have to understand one more thing, that the vested interest and behind the scene is also the rare earth minerals that, you know, United States wants access on, because the only reason that they've been, you know, sort of talking down to India and cannot do it to China is because the rare earth minerals are controlled by China, and there are rare earth minerals in part of Ukraine too. So obviously that's going to be also of an interest, where they will push him to negotiate of territories that Ukraine unfortunately might never get back.
So, Mr. Lali, then what can we expect? Because this meeting is going to be in the presence of the European leaders also. Do you feel there is going to be some sort of a dialogue that might also be ensued to try and benefit Ukraine in any manner? Is there room and a scope for that at all?
See, they will be in a corner. I don't think I need to be a rocket scientist to guess that, but I think there will be 4 takes out of it. Number one, you know, Zelensky will be expected to backceding of Ukraine, part of Ukraine's territory. Number 2 is, you know, definitely Crimea. Number 3, that he will be convinced, if not already done, not to agree to be a part of NATO. And of course, he would need some security guarantees, because Europe is extremely insecure of, you know, the way Russia has been panning out. And even if you look at it, even now as we speak, Russia hasn't stopped. They're still attacking and using their drones to attack. So I think these are 4 main points where Zelensky is on the back seat.
Right. Absolutely, Mr. Lali. Thank you so much for taking our time and joining me over here. We will be keeping a close track of all the developments that takes place and get you updates from that meeting that is scheduled between Donald Trump and Zelensky.